Hey, welcome back to our weekly roundup. My name is Frankie.
And I'm Ryan from The Coffee Break.
And special thanks to The Coffee Break who help us to compile all the juicy news into a newsletter from Monday to Friday every single week.
Remember to subscribe if you want to stay informed. So what do we have on the news this week?
Yeah, so this channel is all about business news, stock market, and economies and stuff like that, right? But when we talk about US corporate news, there's this guy that always comes up on the headline, right? And this guy is Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Elon Musk always comes on the headline, right? So just for context, right? Do you know that Elon Musk doesn't take a salary, even though, he helps to build Tesla to what it is today?
But he's built so many companies like, Starlink, Tesla.
Correct. But the point here is that he doesn't actually draw a salary from Tesla, which according to the law in the US, right, any employee should at least get a minimum wage. So what happened is that Tesla as a company, because they need to comply with the law, right? So they actually give Elon Musk a salary, an annual salary of about $37,000 a year. But this guy damn funny, he doesn't take the money, he just accrue it in the bank account. So yeah, and basically he just live without a salary lah.
This is the secret of being the richest man in the world lah, or one of the richest men in the world lah.
Maybe next time you all can tell your boss, I don't want to take salary. Maybe that's how you can get rich in the future, right? So not taking a salary is ultimately not sustainable, right? So he has to get some income. So in 2018, he actually struck a deal with the company. So while he's not taking salary, but he would be paid in terms of shares. And this payment is in accordance to the KPI that he has to meet.
Quite a common practice in the US lah. I think in Apple's case also the same. Tim Cook also.
Yes.
All the tech companies seems to go this so they can then hit the KPIs, bring the shareholder value lah. Right?
Correct. Because I think the justification here is that if you are able to create shareholders value, and when you get the share grant or share options or whatever, then you can sell it in the market, then you can exchange it for money, and then that's one way of compensation.
Because you're driving the value of the company up as well when you contribute.
Correct. So that practice is quite common. What is not common?
But it's Elon Musk we're talking about, so this guy is...
This guy always do radical things, right? So his compensation plan is that the company would give him 2.6 billion worth of share option, but this share option is not to give him straight 2.6 billion like that. It will be split into 12 tranches, and it will be given to him in a span of 10 years. And this was being proposed back in 2018. So from 2018 to 2028, he has 10 years to fulfill his KPI, and along the way, he will get 12 tranches of Tesla shares, whereby based on 2018 value of Tesla shares, it was worth $2.6 billion.
Okay.
So that's how he get paid. Okay? But so now the question would be, what is the KPI that was given to him? So the first KPI is something questionable. Now, I will tell you why is it questionable, but let me just point out what is the deal here first, right? So the first KPI is that every single year, Tesla's market cap has to go up by 50 billion. So in 2018, the market cap of Tesla was around 58 billion, 60 billion or so. From that point onwards, Elon Musk's KPI was to increase the market cap by 50 billion, 100 billion, 150 billion, 200 billion like that.
Every year
50 billion.
Okay.
That's the first KPI.
But that's since 2018, right?
Since 2018.
We know how it has.
Yeah, so people thought you crazy, is it?
50B,
Your company at that point is only 50B. Yeah. So every year double. Well, not double. What?
First year double. First year double, then second year, But it's still a substantial growth.
It's a crazy growth that is put upon him, right? But the questionable side of things is that now, if your KPI is market cap, to unlock 2.6 billion, all he needs to do is,
He absolutely
right?
can. I mean, this is how cases like Enron happens, right? Like when there are dubious accounting practices, and it's all forecasts and projections and whatnot, right? Because if he wants to hit the target early, it's not hard. Yeah. What I say is not hard because
Correct.
Maybe it's sales or revenue, maybe it's a better figure.
Correct. So the management of Tesla is also not stupid lah. So apart from this market cap KPI, he also must reach a certain level of revenue and also adjusted profit in order to unlock his share option.
Okay. The profit part is also important. Like you can make all the revenue you want, but if it's losing money, then there's no point also.
Now, fast forward to today, right? Tesla's market cap is 600 billion. So if you think about it, right, he actually achieved his KPI.
19, 20, 21.
22, 23.
250 lah. 250 supposed to be 300 lah.
300.
Based on KPI, supposed to be 300 lah.
Correct.
Right,
So today is 600, which means to say he actually doubled his KPI, you know. And because of that, and I suppose he also hit his revenue and profit KPI as well. So obviously then he should get his
payday lah.
Yeah, his payday lah, right? So the shares, which was worth 2.6 billion in 2018, today is worth $56 billion, which would make him getting the biggest paycheck in the world's corporate history and making him one of the richest person in the world.
It's so imbalanced, dude. That is so imbalanced, dude. You think about it, it's 10 billion a year. No CEOs are paid 10 billion a year.
Right. This is 56 billion.
Is this taxable?
I'm not sure.
He may have to cash it because there is capital gains tax in the US.
Correct.
If he cash it, maybe it's taxable, but it's still a huge payday, man. 56 billion.
But I suppose it's a happy day for him, right? He has not been taking salary for such a long time, and then now is the day for him to actually, reward himself a little bit. But the problem comes.
Oh, so cannot?
Cannot. Because the court where Tesla is headquartered at Delaware, the court of Delaware says that his compensation plan is not fair, and therefore he should not be getting paid that $56 billion. Now, big problem. He's not going to get paid, which pissed him off.
Wow, okay. But why? Why? Because this was all negotiated upfront in 2018, right? Why when they want to cash out, this becomes a problem?
So according to the court, right, there's not enough evidence to say that Tesla actually went into negotiation with Elon Musk. That's number one. And number two is, I suppose, because Elon Musk didn't get at least the minimum wage in the past, so it did not comply with the law or something, right? No, the details of it I'm not sure because I'm not familiar with the US legal system. But the point here is that the court is blocking his paycheck and he's very unhappy about it. So to the point, he's threatening the Delaware state that if you are going to reject my pay, I'm going to move my business from Delaware to Texas, where he also has a mega plant over there.
His Giga?
His Giga factory in Texas. So this thing has been in the headline in the past few days.
Wow, but that is also a power move, right?
Yeah.
To then move your incorporation, because it means there will be lots of taxes for the state.
For the Delaware state and move to Texas. So of course, Texas will be very happy and whatnot. But Elon Musk, he's tried to do things very differently from normal people, right? As we all know. So before he made the decision, he actually put out a poll to ask his followers and say, should I move my business from Delaware to Texas? So within, I think, 1 day or so, he managed to garner 1.1 million votes. And 87% of the followers say that he should move his business to Texas. So now the question is, will he make the move or not?
If he wants to get the money, he would. Then he can sort of
he has to
make the loss of the Twitter purchase, right? The 56 billion, then you get, you know what? Twitter purchase is now free in a way.
Yeah, true.
Not free lah. I mean, he came up with the money, but he can sort of use the 56 billion and cover the losses from Twitter. Yeah. But again, I mean, he is just a radical guy. So there's another news that was related to him last week, which is his brain chip startup, Neuralink, right? So they implanted a device in the first live human subject last Sunday, right? So the patient seemed to be recovering well, according to Musk, and he wants to name this product Telepathy. So this product is actually meant for people who have lost their limbs, lost the ability to use their limbs, and it adopts an invasive and a high bandwidth approach. So the device is surgically implanted into the brain surface using a robot during a surgical procedure, and it's positioned in a part of the brain, right, that is responsible for planning of movements. So the device interprets the neural activity, then it enables the individuals to control external devices like your smartphones or your computers using just your thoughts.
Oh wow! So you may not have your hands anymore.
You cannot.
But you just need to think. Please type like my name. Then it would come out.
Oh, it's only in human trials because this is just started to roll out. But it's 2024 and we are living at the new age of dawn.
Yeah, correct. And we are talking about chips that's as small as 3 nanometer today. So everything is possible now, right?
Well, I mean, while it is still undergoing human trials, there are ethical issues when it comes to this neuro technologies, right? So because this is a private company, right? What is Musk going to do with the data? What people think about, because you have access, right? This is something that
now you have access to people's thought.
Yeah. We ourselves know what we think about, but imagine another company, third party having a, or a second party whatever, right? Having access to your thought. That's also like one ethical issue. Second is like, what if someone can afford it? And this is just controlling limits. What if you can, sort of become like limitless? Limitless to take a pill and then you like think a lot of things, right? But like, what if they can enhance your brain function just by implanting a chip?
Yeah, or even control you as a person.
Yeah. Right. So the divide becomes the have and have-nots. If it's for that purpose, then it becomes even wider. If it's used to control you, then that's also another ethical issue. But again, it's Musk. This guy is, like you said, radical. This is not surprising coming from him.
Yeah, we will see how this pan out at the end of the day.
Whether we will really pass human trials or not. If it's for the good, it's a good idea. But just scared of people misusing it.
Okay, so let's come back to a little bit more realistic, right?
I don't want to look at this one individual.
Yeah, correct. So let's talk about the world economy a little bit, right? So the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, they have produced a new report to talk about the global outlook in 2024. So as we all know, 2023 was a very bad year. 2024, people are talking about maybe there's a soft landing, maybe there's a hard landing, a recession and things like that. But this new global outlook report kind of surprised me a little bit because IMF actually estimated the global growth to be stronger than expected, and it will be 3.1% in 2024, which is the same growth in 2023, which means to say they think that it's going to be quite steady this year. This is an upgrade from the previous forecast whereby the IMF estimated the growth for 2024 is only at 2.9%. So it's 0.2% increase over there. Now, 0.2% may seem very small, but because you're talking about the global economy, 0.2% is very big.
In absolute amount, it's huge.
Yes.
So according to the latest IMF projections, right, last year, the world generated 105 trillion in GDP. So that 0.2%, right, is already going to be about 0.2 trillion, which is 200 billion, right? Correct, right? My math.
I am not very sure.
But it's probably around that figure, 200 billion, just for this growth. Why are they projecting that's going to be normal? No, despite all that has happened last quarter.
Yeah. So the main reason why they're upgrading the outlook for 2024, actually they're factoring in upgrades from China and also largely because of developing economies like Southeast Asia, this part of the world, India, maybe Brazil and stuff like that as well. So the point here is that IMF is seeing this part of the world, the developing economies, to actually buffer the economic growth in the next 12 months. But having said that, right, 3.1%, you go up by 0.2%, sound great. But if you look back the past history, from year 2000 to 2019, in the past 20 years, right, the global growth average is around 3.8%. So if you think about it, 3.1% against 3.8%, actually we are growing quite slowly compared to the last 20 years.
Post-pandemic .
So since we're talking about the global economy, right, so let's dive deeper into it and see what is each continent is doing in that sense. So for the US economy, the IMF expects the economy to have a laggard effects coming from fiscal tightening because interest rate now is at 5%, right? And people don't feel the interest rate hike immediately one. So probably 2024 is the year that all these pinches are starting to hit your daily lives.
I think even the Federal Reserve still not cutting rates.
Yes.
The indication is still not no rate cuts in this quarter. It sounds like it from the latest FOMC meeting. They are saying that Powell is just indicating that there is no rate cuts for now.
And because the US economy contributes 2/3 of the growth of the world's economy, so with possibility of lower consumption, economy slowing down and things like that, that's one of the reasons why in 2024 growth will not be as great as the past 20 years.
And they're also facing an election this year. Actually, that will be the US elections will be the wild card this year. It's happening in the last quarter of the year.
Yeah, I think around November.
Around November. So this will be the wild card, right? But of course, by then the country has already grown, the growth of the economy already, by the end of the year, it's at the tail end already.
So let's move on to Europe. Not a very good place to be in 2024. They are still being haunted by the Ukraine war. So that has affected the growth in the whole Eurozone. Apart from that, same situation as the US. They have very high interest rate environment, so that is going to affect your private consumption, your businesses is going to suffer and things like that. But having said that, I mean, the war also happened quite a while already, and going forward, if the US lower down the interest rate, there's high chance that the Eurozone may also follow suit to lower down the interest rate. So all this will give some breather space for the Eurozone as well. And because of that, IMF is expecting a recovery in the Eurozone, a GDP growth reaching 0.9% for Euro, compared to 0.5% that they expected in 2023.
Again, like, it's a soft landing approach, nothing too drastic. Nothing too drastic. As long as inflation is sort of in control, then the world is going to be, like you said, they have a breathing space.
So Eurozone is one big block, right? So let's zoom in a little bit further. We talk about the largest economy in Europe. So that would be Germany. Germany is expected to see a contraction in their economy. The GDP is projected to fall by 0.3% in 2023 and will recovery and reaching a growth of 0.5% this year. Subsequently, hopefully they're able to hit 1.6% in 2025. So it looks like going forward, things are looking better, right, in the Eurozone.
It will take time.
It will take time.
It will take time.
Right, so we move away from Germany, we look at the second largest economy in Europe, that would be France. France is expected to have 1% growth this year and 1.7% growth in 2025. So it looks like France will be doing quite well.
I wonder, right, because you look at these numbers at about, 0.5, 1. What if they don't achieve those numbers? Will it be a big impact also?
The thing is, all these big organizations like IMF, World Bank and all, they always review their forecast and projection. So if things change, or let's say if there's another geopolitical tension happening somewhere, I think that would trigger them to revise all these numbers again.
So what about Russia, who has been in the action for the past 2-3 years, right?
Yeah. So because of the war in Ukraine, it means that Russia has to spend a lot of money on military expenses and all the spillover effect because of that, right? And that has surprisingly cushioned the economy quite well.
So they're expecting a growth of about 2.6% in 2024.
That's huge, 2.6%.
Right? Compared to all the other counterparts in Europe,
which is expected to grow like 0.something%
in the ones, in not more than 2, right?
But after 2024, IMF expects the Russian economy to slow down to only 1.1% growth in 2025. Maybe they expect the war to end around that time. So therefore, not so much military spending anymore, then it will go back to normal a little bit.
Yeah, we hope the conflicts will eventually come to a conclusion, right? I mean, it's just dragged on for years, and it's not doing anyone any good. So what are the risks to then achieve those targets? Because these are just projections, right? There are risks of what are some of the risks that will happen, things that never happen.
The new risk that I can see right now is the Red Sea conflict.
The Houthis or the Yemen.
So they're attacking ships around Red Sea's area, and that has triggered a new round of inflation in terms of the freight costs and stuff like that. And because the Red Sea is one of the major sea routes for the world, right? So not sure whether this is going to slow down the economic growth in 2024.
It would, in a sense, I guess. Like businesses would look at inflation and say, things will get more expensive again. People are going to spend more, right? It will also lower down people's appetite, right? Businesses' appetite to grow their business because they know that people are not going to spend, right? Because all the growth has been coming from consumption, and inflation don't bring consumption, right? Inflation drive down consumption. So, it may again see another round of. There's a big risk, actually. Right, coming from here.
Yeah.
How about China? Is China also a risk? Also another wild card?
China, I think the fear is still the concerning property sector, right? If they don't solve that problem, I think it's going to be spillover effects to the world economy. Because don't forget, right, the property sector in China contributes 25% of their GDP. So if one sector down, right, a quarter of China is down.
Talk about the property sector there. So Evergrande.
Oh yeah.
Evergrande also was in the news last week.
Yeah.
Once China's second largest property developer, and now the world's most indebted developer, with more than 300 billion of total liabilities, has been ordered to enter into liquidation by Hong Kong court last week. So the judge decided to liquidate the company after it had been unable to restructure. After more than 2 years, it defaulted on its bond payment. So liquidators will now take over the control of the company's assets and then prepare to sell them to repay the debt. Whatever that's happened, I'm sure the government also tried to intervene and whatnot. So analysis by Deloitte actually estimated a recovery rate of 3.4% if the developer is to be liquidated.
Recovery 3.4% only.
3.4%.
So
only.
you would lose 96% of your money.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Huge write down lah. Huge write down. But again that was also coming from COVID lah. Right? Because that was the impact of what happened in 2020, 2021, right? Talk about COVID. Another sector that's impacted by COVID was the hospitality sector. So you may also be quite familiar with this brand that you've seen around in Malaysia as well, Oyo, right? So the once high-flying company.
Yeah, you drive around the shop houses. Sometimes you see all these Oyo branded
correct.
budget hotels, right?
They were used to be like budget hotels, then Oyo sort of bought over them, or the branding slapped on these hotels, right? And they had initially filed for an IPO, initial public offering, a couple of times. So the second time was in March last year, after slashing the target amount to be raised by about 2/3. It was once valued as much as 10 billion because it was known to be the India's Airbnb with SoftBank being the largest investor in Oyo, owning about 45%. But in 2022, SoftBank actually marked down the value of its holding in the startup, giving it a valuation of only 2.7 billion.
Wow.
Another steep markdown.
This is bad, right? Because you're planning an IPO, then you are the largest shareholder of the company. By the way, SoftBank owns 45% of Oyo Group. When your largest shareholder devalue the company from 10 billion to 2.7 billion, what does it mean, right? It means that even the owner themselves are not so confident with the valuation of the company.
Correct.
So I think this is going to affect the IPO price when it goes to the market and try to sell the shares.
Right. But that was in 2002. Right, so that was at the 2022. So that was at the post-pandemic lah. So people were not confident lah, right? So I think that was the valuation then. In the latest round, the valuation is estimated to be about 6 billion, actually.
6 billion.
So it has recovered lah. The valuation is what the investor then put on the say. Hey, I think this is the valuation based on the projection, based on whatever numbers that they have,
Okay lah, half cup full or half cup empty. You have to see it yourself, because the first round of IPO where they're supposed to go to the market, the company is valued at 10-12 billion, right?
That is the real test lah, actually, when they go IPO lah, right? That is the real test, because the first valuation is just an internal valuation, right? Someone to come and throw the numbers in. Okay, based on the growth trajectory, what is the valuation? Subsequent rounds, again lah, is based on current trajectory. But the real test is when the company goes listing lah.
Maybe that's also one way SoftBank is trying to play with numbers, because you see, when you adjust the value of your investment all the way down to 2.7 billion, right? And then now you tell the market that the company Oyo is being valued at 6 billion. Suddenly you have 3 times upside.
Sounds good, right?
Sounds
bad
good,
news
right?
become good news again, right?
Financial engineering. So anyway, let's look a little bit into Oyo's financial numbers. In the latest audited results, they have actually registered $9.6 million of adjusted EBITDA profit. And they also recorded 41% gross profit margin, which is not bad at all.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
And they also managed to register 45% increase in terms of gross booking value per hotel per month.
Gross booking value. Also, they saw like increase in sales lah.
Increase in booking lah.
Pretty much increase in sales
Put
lah.
it in short.
But then having said that, the previous year was a low base year, 2022, right?
So it's easy to get the kind of good
easy
numbers.
to get the good numbers lah.
The real challenge starts from this year.
This year itself, when things are sort of back to normal. But the reason why we are talking about Oyo is that because it has appeared in the news that Khazanah Nasional Berhad, our sovereign wealth fund, is actually in discussion to lead a $400 million, about 1.9 billion ringgit funding round into Oyo Hotels and Homes Private Limited. So this fundraising is believed will be used to finance Oyo's expansion plan and sort of reduce its debt.
Okay.
Right.
So now my question will be, what does Khazanah see that I don't see now?
This is privy to them right? Privy to them. But why are they going into hospitality? And why at this stage? Because usually if as a PE fund, or you sort of go into early.
Okay, for Khazanah to go into hospitality, I think it's not hard to understand, because we just came out from the pandemic. People are traveling. You see, even Chinese New Year, a lot of my friends and family, they're not in Malaysia. They all go out and celebrate. Which is also the same for foreigners. They would want to come to Malaysia to spend a holiday here, right? So it's not hard to understand why they want to go into hospitality. But why into Oyo, where all the things that we discussed, valuation has been brought down. The largest shareholder is also not so confident with the books. Yeah. So there's only two things here. One is Khazanah is seeing some sort of value that not many people can see, or they are taking a very big risk.
So 2023 was a good year for Malaysia in the sense of corruption. So this NGO or this organization called Transparency International actually assess a country's corruption right? With this Corruption Perceptions Index. And in 2023, Malaysia's CPI score actually climbed from 47 to 50 in 2023, placing the country 57 globally in this ranking.
Is that considered good or bad?
It's a slight improvement from the 61st in 2022, right? So initiatives by MACC, the Malaysia Anti-Corruption Commission, the Attorney General Chambers, and also the Prime Minister actually drove this improvement, aligning with Malaysia's goal to then be in the top 25 by 2023. Right, but because this score was taken back at, I think, in August 2023, this did not take into certain news that have developed since then, right? So like the discharge not amounting to an acquittal granted to the Deputy Prime Minister Ahmad Zahid last September, so that was not taken into account. I think the latest news with pardon on former Prime Minister Najib Razak may probably drive this lower
Oh man.
Singapore, let's talk about neighbour because we are jealous of our neighbour, right? So Singapore maintained 5th place position globally in 2023, right, with a score of 83A. That is Singapore for you. And
really making me jealous.
Singapore has been in top 10 since 1995. So it's almost 3 decades now, right? And just a few weeks ago, there was also a news of the former Singapore Transport Minister was charged over receiving kickbacks of about 383,000 Sing dollars.
Oh.
Right? From a property...
Small fry 300 over 1,000.
But not a big thing, dude. So this guy resigned from the cabinet. I think resigned from his post as well while awaiting investigation. But here, it's a small fry.
Here, 300,000, I think, I don't know what will happen. Your life goes on.
Nothing will happen. By the way, we're not condoning corruption. Don't get us wrong. But
it's just fascinating.
It's just fascinating, right? To see the treatment of one down south and one us as a country right? People have resigned and left their position, but here, nothing happens. Yeah, so I think that's all for the news. That's all the interesting news for the week.
Thanks to the Coffee Break again for giving us all the interesting news. And if you prefer to listen to us instead of watching us on YouTube, you can also find us on the Spotify account. It's called The Weekly Roundup by the FAQ Show. So see you guys again next week.
Ciao!